Beneath the whispering pines, in a small quiet village nestled between rolling hills and a dense forest of whispering pines, there lived an elderly man named Theo. Theo had spent his entire life in the village, working as a carpenter, crafting furniture and fixing anything that needed mending. Now retired, he lived alone in a cozy cottage at the edge of the forest, where the scent of pine needles and the sound of rustling leaves filled the air. Each evening, as the sun dipped below, the horizon and the sky turned a soft shade of lavender, Theo would light a fire in his stone fireplace and settle into his favorite armchair. The fire crackled warmly, casting a gentle glow across the room, and Theo would sip on a cup of herbal tea, savoring the peacefulness of the night. On such evening, as Theo sat by the fire, a soft knock echoed through his cottage. Surprised, for he rarely had visitors, Theo rose and opened the door. There, standing in the twilight, was a small, curious creature, a fox, with a coat as red as autumn leaves and eyes that gleamed like amber. The fox looked up at Theo as if asking for something. Theo smiled warmly and opened the door wider, allowing the fox to step inside. The fox trotted in, circling the room once before settling down by the hearth, where the warmth of the fire seemed to ease its very bones. Theo returned to his chair, feeling a sense of companionship that he hadn't felt in years. The fox curled up into a ball, its eyes closing as it drifted off into a peaceful sleep. As the days turned into weeks, the fox became a regular visitor. Every evening it would arrive just as the sun was setting, and Theo would welcome it in. Together they would share the warmth of the fire, and sometimes Theo would talk to the fox about his day, his memories, and the dreams he still held close to his heart. One evening, after a particularly chilly day, Theo noticed the fox shivering by the door, its coat damp from the mist that had rolled in from the hills. Without a second thought, Theo fetched an old woolen blanket from his cupboard and wrapped it over the fox's back. The fox looked up at him with grateful eyes, and Theo felt a warmth in his heart that rivaled the fire in the hearth. The seasons changed, and winter arrived in the village, blanketing the forest and hills in a thick layer of snow. The village was quiet, as most people stayed indoors to escape the cold, but every evening, without fail, the fox would appear at Theo's door, and together they would sit by the fire, sharing the silent comfort of each other's company. One particularly cold night, as the wind howled outside and the snow fell heavily, Theo noticed something different about the fox. It was moving more slowly, its steps less sure. Concerned, Theo knelt down beside it and gently patted its soft fur. The fox looked up at him, his eyes full of trust, and then, with a contented sigh, it laid its head on Theo's knee and closed its eyes. Theo sat there for a long time, the fire crackling softly beside them, his hand resting on the fog's back. He felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that he had provided a safe, warm place for his small creature. Eventually, Theo too closed his eyes, and the two of them drifted off to sleep, lulled by the gentle sound of the wind outside and the steady warmth of the fire. In the morning, when Theo woke, the fox was gone, but in its place he found a woolen blanket, neatly folded and untouched by the cold. Theo smiled, a tear of gratitude welling in his eye. He knew the fox had moved on, perhaps to find a new friend or to continue its journey through the forest. From that day on, Theo never felt alone. The memory of the fox and the warmth they shared filled his heart, reminding him that even in the quietest moments, there is always the possibility of connection and companionship. And every evening, as he sat by the fire, he would think of his little friend, wishing it well on its travels, and feeling at peace with the world. From that day on, Theo never felt alone. And so, with the soft crackling of the fire and the whispering of the pines outside, Theo would drift off to sleep, his heart warm and his spirit light, knowing that he had been a part of something special, a simple yet profound bond between two unlikely companions.